Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we will discuss about, interesting topic, and this one gotta be about our human biases. Picture this: you're a hotshot analyst in a dimly lit room, sifting through scraps of information that could change the course of history. But lurking in the shadows, your own brain playing tricks, like a mischievous gremlin. This story draws from the wisdom in Richard's Heuer's psychology of intelligence analysis, a gem that's been schooling spies and thinkers for decades. We will unpack how our noggin trips us up with biases, sprinkle in real life oops moments, and toss in some, laughs along the way. By then, you will spot these, mental pitfalls in your daily grind, whether you're, deciding on a stock pick, arguing politics at dinner, or just figuring out if that email from your boss is a trap. So let's kick off with our hero, the everyday thinker. You think you're logical, right? Data in, conclusions out, like a well-oiled machine. Turns out our brains are more like that old jalopy in your garage, reliable most days, but prone to stalling at the worst times. An author calls this our so-called mental machinery, the behind-the-scenes wiring, that processes information without us even noticing. It's efficient for survival, like spotting a tiger run, but lousy for nuanced stuff like predicting if a foreign leader's bluffing, or if your kid's story about the broken vase holds water. So in other words, our brain very good, like by the default, for the survival instincts. In other words, when it comes to figuring out quick things in order to save our ass. But when it comes to more complicated things, we gotta be more rational, and that's why we gotta notice when we have some sort of bias. And first bias on the chopping block, confirmation bias. This one is sneaky devil. It's when latch onto information that backs up what you already believe and ignore the rest like it's yesterday news. Imagine you're convinced your neighbor's stealing your email every time the mailbox is empty. Boom, proof. But that one day is full. Probably a fluke. In intelligence, these wrecked analysis during the Cold War. Analysts saw Soviet moves as aggressive because that's what they expected. Missing cellular signals. In real life, think about that friend who only reads headlines confirming their conspiracy theories. Funny how the brain turns into a yes man, huh? To fight it, author of that book, in Psychology of Intelligence Analysis, suggests flipping the script, actively hunt for evidence that proves you wrong. It's like being your own devil's advocate. Uncomfortable, but way better than eating crow later. So the whole point is about confirmation bias, that the problem is that in this bias we notice just things which satisfying our own beliefs, and we ignoring another facts which contradicts with our beliefs. And that's a problem. Why? Because if we will miss some another fact which we don't like, at the end of the day, I guess we will make some bad decision. In other words, you don't like to. It's okay that we don't like to read or listen things which we don't like, but we have to consider them to have to be more rational, and again, in order to have more objectively right decisions. Okay, let's mosey over to anchoring. Ever haggle at a flea market? The seller throws out a wild high price, and even if you talk them down, you're still anchored to that number. Our brains grab the first bit of information like a real life raft and adjust from there, usually not enough. An author of this book points to experiments where folks spun a wheel reached to land on 10 or 65, then guess the percentages of African countries in the UN. Low spin guessed around 25%, high closer to 45%. The actual answer is 28, but that anchor pulled them, of course. And analysis if the first report says enemy troops 50,000, later tweaks might not budge you far from it, even if new intel screams otherwise. Another everyday example could be, let's say, job salary negotiations. Boss offers low, you counter a tad higher, but you're stuck in their ballpark. What's the pro tip? Reset the anchor. Come in with your own research, like let's say industry standard is X, and what's the dynamic shift? And hey, if you anchor to thinking pineapple belongs on pizza, well, that's a bias we can live with, as long as it's not starting wars. So, as a summary, anchoring bias, it's about when first information impacting to another information decisions, and do not let the first information to impact to you. It's especially common in terms of like when you go to the supermarket to shopping for something, and sellers intentionally actually they offering you the highest price first, because they know that after that other price is going to be going to look for you so-called cheaper, but that's not always the case. And that's why in these scenarios it makes sense to make your own research, like check out other shops, stores. Alright, speaking of vivid stuff, enter the availability heuristic and its flashy cousin vividness. Our brains love drama. Easy to recall events feel more likely. After a shark attack hits the news, folks skip the beach, forgetting car crashes kill way more. And author notes how personal concrete stories trump on dry stats. An analyst hears a juicy anecdote about a detective's wild escape. Bam! It sticks more than boring reports. Result? Overestimating rare threats. So a little bit of humor, It's why, after watching a horror flick, you check under the bed for monsters, but ignore the real killer, your overflowing junk drawer that could, avalanche any second. To counter force feed your brain stats, ask, is this memorable because it's common or just sensational? In business, do not let one viral customer complaint overshadow glowing surveys. So, again, this bias about availability heuristic which called when something which we saw or was hearing recently impacting to the next life moments. But again, we gotta stay objective and objectively think that, statistically, not many people die because of zombies, and do not lose your objective mind. All right, overconfidence struts in the next chest puffled like a peacock. We, overestimate our smart, especially on tough calls. And author cites studies where folks were 90% sure of answer, but right only 70% of all the time. In Intel, this led to blunders like underestimating Pearl Harbor. Nah, they wouldn't dare your life. That I'm 100% sure I locked the door moment only, to drive back home. Chuckle worthy until, it's your house burgled. So how to fix? Calibrate with feedback. Track past predictions. See where you bombed. And author pushes for sensitivity analysis. Tweak assumptions and watch conclusions wobble. What if your sure thing, so-called stock pick tanks because of a tweet? Humbling but, practical. So, again, it's at the end of the day, it's about considering facts, even if you don't like them. Be objective and to notice where you got these kind of logical errors, aka biases. Okay, hindsight bias, another one, is the smug know-it-all. After something happens, we swear we saw it coming. Of course, the market crashed, like signs were everywhere, but pre-crash crickets. Author warns these skews lessons learned. We pat ourselves on the back instead of fixing flaws. For example, post 9/11, folks claimed that the dots were connectable, but in real time it was a mess of noise. Funny how memory rewrites history like a bad editor. Combated by journaling predictions beforehand. No cheating. Yeah, this is also very common actually, hindsight bias. When some shit happens and, people around you, yeah, I was feeling that shit coming. Mirror imaging's a hood. Assuming others think like you, author flags this in cross-cultural analysis. If I were the enemy, I will do X, but what if they are from a different playbook, led to misreading Vietnam strategies? in dating, for example. They didn't text back, must be playing hard to get. No, maybe they're just not into you. So as a solution, dive into into their worldview, read up, emphasize without going full method actor. So yeah, it's like I think it was to mention here perception and perspective when you're not just thinking about your own world of view, but try to put yourself into someone else's shoes, how they think about you, about your messages or other things. Okay, author of this book doesn't just diagnose; he prescribes tools. The STAR analysis of competing hypotheses, like which has an acronym ACH, list all possible explanations, total evidence for or against each the weak links. It's like a bracket tournament for ideas. Say you're debugging why sales dipped. Economy, bad marketing, alien invasion. Hey, low probability, but list it. Weigh facts. See what stands. Beats gut feel every time. So, this is actually an interesting one. Analysis of competing hypotheses, ACH, as I mentioned, which again, like simply speaking, like for example, you got some, like for example, you want to predict something, and you have, let's say, I don't know, 5 guesses. You putting down to the paper your all 5 guesses, and assessing each one, like probability, how likely, like everything possible, but you, in other words, measuring probability, and by doing this kind of analysis, you figure out, like for example, the 3rd guess was high likely rather than other guesses. Okay, wrapping this yarn, our brains are brilliant by biased beasts, and authors' insights, born from intelligence agencies, apply everywhere, from boardrooms to barbecues. Next time you're sure about something, pause, probe for traps, laugh at your foibles. It lightens the road. Remember, the best thinkers are not bias free, they're bias aware. Yeah, it's like, it's not about being perfectly without bias, but noticing when you have a bias and try to fix it. And thanks for tuning in. Drop a comment on your wildest bias blunder. And until next time, and if you like it, smash the like button. See you next time.